Welcome back to the channel, fam. Today we're going to be talking about, should millionaires be getting a $1,200 stimulus check? Now, from all the information that I've read, it's estimated that 125 million Americans will receive a $1,200 stimulus check. The question is, how many of those will be millionaires? So we're going to talk a little bit about that a little later in the video. But before I do that, let's talk about some of the things that I recommend you do with your $1,200 when you get it. The number one thing I recommend you consider doing is putting the money in a FDIC insured account at a bank or an online bank. The reason I say to do that is you want that money protected. You don't want anything to happen to it. And by putting it in an FDIC insured account, you're safe. The second thing I recommend you do is use that money for your essentials. And when I say essentials, I'm talking about your basic necessities for life: food, shelter, and transportation. Now, the reason I add transportation in there is because if you've lost your job and you have no income coming in and you have the ability to work, then my recommendation is you should be out every day looking for a way to create income, looking for a job or a side hustle, or whatever you want to call it. The third thing I recommend you consider with the $1,200, now if your situation is where you have your job, you don't believe you're going to lose your job, you have your emergency fund set up, and you're doing okay, then I would recommend you take the $1,200 and you add it to your emergency fund, just so that you have an extra $1,200 just in case something does change with your job. You got that $1,200 in your emergency fund as a buffer for you. Now, the last thing I would ask you to consider doing with the $1,200, if you are an investor and you have passive income coming in, have your emergency fund set aside, like I said, you already have income coming in, you're not worried about that income being jeopardized because of this financial and health crisis we're in, then you may want to consider investing that $1,200. This is just a consideration for investors only, not for people who don't have a job or don't know where their next dollar is coming from because they've been laid off from work. This is not for that type of person. This is only for people who are investors, who have passive income coming in that's not going to be jeopardized by the health crises or the financial crises. And they are looking to deploy that $1,200 long term to make more money. So that's an option for you. So those are my 4 options or things I would ask you to consider if you qualify and you expect to receive a $1,200 stimulus check. Now, from everything I've read, those checks should be arriving within 3 weeks. So they should be coming shortly. Now, let's talk about these millionaires that also will be receiving these $1,200 stimulus checks. Now, if you've watched my channel for a while, you'll know I'm a I'm a former commercial banker for 25 years. And I had an opportunity to work with a lot of multimillionaires over my 25 years in banking. Now, quite a few of these millionaires have tax structures that when you look at their personal tax return, it won't show adjusted gross income of $75,000 or adjusted gross income up to $150,000 if you're married and filing jointly. A lot of these affluent people, wealthy people, they have tax structures that are different than you and I. And the whole point of the tax structure, in my opinion, is to legally avoid paying taxes, which is, again, like I said, it's legal as long as you do it properly within the IRS guidelines, and these folks do. But the question is, should they be receiving a $1,200 check if they're millionaires and they got really high net worths and they got cash on hand, they have, investments that they can liquidate, they have things like that. Should they really be getting this $1,200 check? And I can't answer that question for all of you, but my opinion would be no. I think those $1,200 stimulus checks should be going out to Americans who really need it the most. I think multimillionaires don't need it. I think they've created a level of wealth that gives them the ability to live a certain lifestyle, and I don't think another $1,200 that could be going to someone who really needs it, they should be getting it. But that's my opinion only. I would be curious to know what you think about that. Now, the reason I know, and feel the way I feel is, like I said, I've worked with these folks over the years, and these folks have a lot of cash, albeit it's in the market or it's in other investments. And a lot of them, when you look at their tax return, like I said, they're not going to have $75,000 in adjusted gross income. They're just not going to have it. They don't show it. They don't want to pay taxes on it. They have sophisticated tax structures that allow them not to show that type of income on their tax return. So they'll be getting a check. There very well may be someone who has $10 million in net worth between real estate holdings and cash on hand and investments, and they may still get a $1,200 stimulus check. And for me, again, my personal opinion, that shouldn't be. But I get it. Our government is trying to, with a broad stroke, help people and give them this rebate check so that they can do and take care the basic things in order to continue to function until we can get this economy back going again and we can get this health crisis under control. So they spread a wide net, but in that net sometimes you're going to catch people who get caught in that net and get that $1,200 check. From a financial standpoint, they really don't need it. So in my opinion, that's a little unfair. But, life is not fair. What we have to concentrate on is if you're getting the check, what you're going to do with your $1,200. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, there are some things you should be considering. And make sure, above all, though, you use that money only for essentials. If you don't have a job and you don't have income coming in, I would take that money and I would put it away only for my essentials. If I lost my job and I had no income coming in and I got one of these checks, I would call my creditors and tell them, I don't have a job, I can't pay you. Put me on pause, defer my payments. Once I get a job, I will get caught up and get you back, get back on schedule. Because that $1,200 is gonna have to last you for a while. Now, I don't know if they'll do a second round of stimulus checks if we don't get this health crisis under control by the summer. Maybe they will do a second round. I don't know. I would say yes, please do a second round, because I think what we want to prevent is another 2008 where we have a financial collapse on top of the health crises. That's a different ballgame. Right now, we don't have a financial collapse, even though the markets have declined in value as it relates to our investments, but we're not seeing a sweeping financial crisis yet. But I think if we don't figure out this health crisis and get it under control by the summertime, and when I mean June, July, I don't know. I don't know what type of effect that will have on our long-term financial situation in our country, because at that point, you'll probably see people losing more jobs. Right now, we've had that first wave of job loss. But man, if this things carry on into the summer, we're going to have a second wave. And that second wave is going to be detrimental to us. So again, like I said, I would recommend that we take the $1,200 and use it appropriately. I can't do anything about millionaires getting this check, but some of them are going to get it. So you guys have to chime in. Let me know what you think about that. I think it's crazy that someone who has a multi-millionaire can get a $1,200 check when they really don't need it. But again, I don't make the rules. I'm just a guy who believes in fairness, and I know a lot of you believe in fairness. Again, I'm not persecuting people who get it. They get it. They get it. I mean, it is what it is. I will not be getting a check. My income in 2018 and 2019 exceeded the requirements to get a check, so I won't be getting a check, nor do I want a check, because I think there are people out there that are worse off than me who actually deserve those checks. Well, again, guys, I hope you all are doing well and protecting yourself, protecting your family, and hopefully from a financial standpoint, you're in good shape. You got your emergency fund put away, and you're able to keep your job, and if you don't have a job, find a job or find some way to create additional income to keep yourself going in these uncertain times. If you're stopping by the channel for the first time, please consider subscribing, share the video, and smash that like button. It helps the channel and it helps me too. Thoughts become things. If you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hands. You guys keep chasing your greatness and always believe in yourself. And I'll catch you on the next video. Peace.